Hey guys, I'm making this video. It's called SnowBird Series Volume 1. So what that is, a snowbird, how I define it, it's someone who lives in the northern states during the summer, during nice weather, and in the winter they travel down to southern states to be by nice weather and to not be in the cold during the winter. Now my journey specifically, I'm talking about living in the New Jersey area during the summer and living in the Florida area during the winter. This all ties into my nomadic lifestyle and how that has evolved and what spurred part of my desire, my dream, my goal to downsize my life and to be a snowbird. So I want to touch on that. I also want to touch on, this channel is structured in that manner. I mean, there's a couple different key areas that I touch on, and I have a playlist that structures it. One is insights, life lessons. Now that part of the channel is based on sharing different things that are on my spirit, principles of life, lessons I've learned, testimonies, and just general insights from my soul. And there's a playlist for that. You click on playlist and you'll see insights, life lessons. You click on that and it'll go through all the ones under that subject structure. Then the other main part of the channel is my nomadic life slash simple living, which started a few years ago when I started to have the vision to downsize my life, live more remotely, and being able to focus on things that inspire me. And that has evolved over time, and I'm going to get into that more because this video is centered around that nomadic life structure. There's also a playlist for that goes through the different things on living a nomad life and living simple. And then there's also like a health and well-being section that can, different things. I've lost almost 200 pounds in my life, all natural, no surgery, the grace of God. So you could click on that in the playlist if you want to, what I share on that subject. And obviously they're all tied into my overall essence because it's me making all these videos, sharing these different parts of my life, these key parts. That being said, I wanted to provide that level of understanding. That being said, this series, SnowBird series, is going to be focused on my nomadic life, my downsizing life, and a big part of what spurred it. Okay, so a big part of what inspired and drove me to downsize my life is that I desire to live in the warm weather in the winter. Okay, I want to be in a sunny area with nice warm weather. That hasn't always been the case in my life. Even though I always liked the warm weather and I never was a huge fan of the winter, when I was very overweight and I liked to eat, I did get a level of joy and inspiration out of, on a Sunday, on a Sunday in the winter, buying a bunch of junk food, then getting my dog and then going back to my condo, watching football on my big screen TV and just pigging out and vegging out on the couch all day with the heat on. And, it's like you hibernate. So for some years, I did enjoy that. So I have to share my journey. But I would say especially after I lost all the weight, again, losing almost 200 pounds in my life, and after my dog passed, again, so we're looking at the course about past 7 years. Once I started to change my whole lifestyle and lose weight and focus more on being on side and being in nature and exploring different areas, then more and more I started to refine my vision for being in a warm climate during the winter. Okay, was always attracted to Florida, and I visited it throughout the course of my life, just a few times, in my early 20s. I had a friend who has family down there. We went down there a few times. There was a Super Bowl down in Tampa when the Giants played the Ravens. I think that was 2000 or 2001. And then also a great friend of mine, he had a bachelor party down in Miami, so I went to Miami Beach. So just, I visited there, but I never really went there in my adult life to focus on a nomad snowbird life. That being said, the next part of the journey, and that's kind of like just my general thoughts on, the different parts of my life. But like I said, when I lost that weight and when I began to spend more of my time outside, living an active lifestyle, I really said to myself, and as I got older, the winters got colder and darker, and I researched more about health and well-being, that sunlight, vitamin D, being outside plays a part in keeping your body in a more positive and healthy mode. And then that plays a positive part in keeping your mind in a healthy place. And then when your body and your mind are in a healthy place, your spirit is fully alive. And that mind-body-soul connection, for me, is very inspiring. Very inspiring. Now, for some people, they may like the cold weather and the change of seasons, so I understand. Everybody has their own, journey. So, again, this is my journey. I'm just sharing. So that being said, as I started to do the research, I said, man, it really does, and it really played a part in my desire to be in the warm weather, to have sunlight in the winter, and then how that affects your being in a positive manner. I was like, yes, I really think I should, focus and try to, be a snowbird, live in New Jersey area during the summer and live in Florida in the winter. I said that may be a real exciting thing for me, something that I like to do. And so about 10 years ago, it's August 2017, 10 years ago, around 2007, in the United States, we had a Great Recession. So when we had a Great Recession, houses and house prices dropped dramatically. And there was a lot of houses for a very cheap price. It's all relative because a lot of people were broke because every part of the recession was people were living above their means. That's what happened. People can blame Wall Street, and that's part of it. And everybody plays a part in it, okay? But the overall mindset of society at that time was more, buy on debt and just leverage yourself up to the hills. People were buying houses above their means, even me, and then they were looking to buy more houses to either sell them or rent them, and everybody was just like, real estate always goes up, it always goes up, and everybody was just taking out so much debt. And then, of course, Wall Street was taking bets, but it was a whole society mindset of just keep borrowing, and houses always go up, and you can't go wrong. And it was a mindset of society of more is always better, and this will always be this way. Everything in life changes. Everything in life evolves. That being said, eventually too much leverage, too much debt, not enough cash flow. Bottom line, economy went downhill. We had a recession. So when we had a recession, houses were very cheap, as I was saying. But it's all relative because houses are very cheap because there's no buyers in the market, and there's no buyers because everybody's broke, all right? The debt had basically broke everybody, including myself. I was living above my means. There's always exceptions. I'm sure there's some people who weren't, but sharing my journey. That being said, how does that tie into the SnowBird series, to the SnowBird vision, to my dream of being in the winter? So, when houses were very cheap, and around 2007, 2008, when we just, started to hit the bottom, and I said, well, let me just start looking, maybe if I eventually could sell my house up here and wanted to go to Florida. I mean, houses are so cheap down there right now, and I was looking, houses, condos were very cheap. And I'm going to touch on what part of Florida, but I was just looking in Florida, and I said, man, these houses are so cheap, it would really be nice to buy, even if I don't live in it now, maybe for the future. But I never could make the commitment because I just, one is my house was underwater. Two is I did have some money to put down, but I didn't want, then I said, man, 2 mortgages, and things would be tight, wouldn't have that much in savings. I don't want to do that. And I remember even talking to a loan officer. He said, yeah, you can do it. He goes, but that's how we, just got in trouble. Everybody's buying houses, and they have very little in savings after they buy. So, and of course, people want more in down payments, et cetera, et cetera. So, either way, that's also was the next step in for me to trying to become a snowbird. Houses were so cheap. I was looking at them. I came close to a couple, but I never pulled the trigger because I didn't want 2 mortgages. I didn't want too much debt, because then you don't enjoy life. I don't care how much sun there is. I don't care what part of that world you live in. It could be beautiful, but if financially, you're in a very tough place, it beats up your soul. And I've been there, so I say it with compassion, not with judgment, and also with encouragement that if you are in a bad place, start to downsize your life, start to get a budget, and just try. And along the way, God will also give you some grace. Sometimes some things are forgiven, and debt and everything, and you're able to get grace. But that being said, I decided not to commit on a house, but I did say, I think this is what I want to do. All right, I don't want to buy a house like some people did in Florida and say, oh, well, I'll retire there, and then you rent it out. That's a big headache. And then in 10 years, their life changes. They never went to Florida. They got the property they got to sell down there. They still have a property up here. I didn't want to live that life, but I kept looking, and that's how I'm going to research. The beginning of this vision then, at that point when I saw this may be something, is researching online, looking in the area that I wanted to look, looking at the school systems, just for like, is it a good area, looking at hospitals, looking at, how close is it to the beach, how close is it to jobs in that area, doing all the different research on the different part of Florida that I was keying in on. And it took a while to key in on the right part. I'll probably get into that in volume 2, what part of Florida I started to key in on why. But as I started to look into that, I said, man, this area, would be better than the other. So then once you have somewhat of a target, and after you do the research, you have to do the research. You have to get some knowledge. You have to get some understanding on what you're trying to accomplish. Do you want to be close to the beach? Do you want to be close to jobs? What areas have certain type of feelings? Every town has its own feeling. Every town has its own type of culture. So you have to know you have to know what you like, and then you have to pick an area based on that. And then so I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit, and then we'll conclude volume 1. But this is an important part, so I hope you listen. Is that in the beginning, last winter, more and more was getting closer to closer as I thought about downsizing my life to getting closer to this vision. It was just pressing on my spirit. I need to be a snowbird. I need to live in Florida in the winter. So I said, well, the first step would be I need to do a drive down there. I flew down there before, but I never drove down there. So this past winter, I drove down. I drove down to Florida from New Jersey to Florida. It was a long drive. And I almost didn't do it, but I had a couple people to encourage me, and I thank God for them. As I drove down, when you drive down to Florida from New Jersey, you go I-95 mainly. It's okay to get through New Jersey because it's a couple hours. When you leave each state, and each state is only a couple hours, it's encouraging. So example, I left New Jersey, it's a couple hours to get out of New Jersey. Then you go through Delaware, then you go through Maryland, then you go through DC and Virginia. And it's all within a few hours that you get through the states. And you see, all right, leaving this state, entering this state, and that's great. You feel like you're making progress. But North Carolina and South Carolina, they are so long on the map, it feels like you're never going to leave those states when you're on the road. And that can become discouraging. And in that middle point, driving down through the Carolinas, just on I-95, I was like, man, when are these states going to end? When is it going to say entering, a new state? I almost turned back. So life lesson there too. You're going to want to give up because it's a little bit painful. And I don't like to stop, and I don't like to stop to stay at hotels. I like to keep going. And I almost turned back, but I didn't. I kept going, and I got to Atlanta, and then when I got to Jacksonville and I hit that bridge and I saw the palm trees, inspiration. And also I went in the winter, so I watched on my thermostat, on my thermometer on my car, that showed when I left New Jersey it was like 30 degrees, and then when I got into Jacksonville it was all the way in the 70s. So to see that climb, that thermostat climb all the way up there was very inspiring too. And then so once I got there and I saw Florida and how it was just for me. It was a great experience. It was a life lesson that, push through some pain, get to your purpose, get to your vision, to the promised land. And when I got there and I explored the area, I said, I can see myself here in the winters. Maybe even full time at one point in my life. I don't know. And then so after that trip, I looked at a couple houses when I was down there. And after that trip, when I came back, I said, man, well, I'm gonna put my house on the market. And when I put my house on the market, real estate now is currently, it's August 2017. Real estate has been hot. It's been selling again. Prices are back up to pre-recession levels. And so I was able to sell my house within a couple months because I figured, let me sell my house, let me downsize my life, and either buy a little condo up in New Jersey, on a little condo on the beach in New Jersey, and then maybe also a little condo in Florida for the winter, and then maybe I'll do that. But I really even wasn't. But I just said either way, I got to sell my house first. That's the first step. You don't want two mortgages. You don't want to be financially strapped. So I sold my house up here within a couple months. Then I was looking for a condo. Decided not to find one. I couldn't find one that fit my needs, and and I want that flexibility to be a snowbird, okay? I want to be able to go to Florida in the winter as much as possible. I still have a full-time job, so it's going to take some refining, but this is the next step for me. Okay, so then there's different videos that I've made, but then at the end of the day, when I downsized my life, when I sold my condo, I ended up living out of my car, which I'm very much enjoying. It's been 8 months and counting, and for me, again, I'm a single person. I love it. I love the freedom. I love the flexibility. Nothing is perfect, and nothing is for everyone. But this, right now, I'm very inspired. It's still going very well. I'm very thankful. I live in a Jeep Renegade, to be specific. And so I'm getting closer to my vision. I mean, I have the flexibility now. Still a full-time job, so I can't, fully be down in the winter for the full time. But I have a lot of flexibility to go down there either on my weekends off if I wanted to fly, or just structure vacation time around that. And that's my plan. And long term, if I can do something remotely or something of that nature, which would allow me to just fully be a snowbird in New Jersey in the summer and in Florida in the winter, that's my goal. I want to be by the sun. I want to be in the outdoor areas, and I love Florida for various reasons, which I'm going to get into in other series. And so this is just to start the conversation. Everything in life is start now, refine as you go, forward progress. And I wanted to document a series dedicated to this specific topic for me, for SnowBird series Volume 1. Why I want to live in New Jersey in the winter and go to Florida in the winter, and how my thought process and how my vision and my dream and my goal has evolved. And this is kind of how it started and that whole process. And we're going to get into, different, I'm just going to share based on that topic, and we'll go from there. So if being a snowbird is exciting to you, and that possibility of being in warm weather during the winter, then maybe you will get something out of it, and you'll get some inspiration and some knowledge. And I'd love to hear from people. If you've done that in your life, I'd love to hear from you. And I'm just going to go from there. I'm going to keep documenting this part of my journey, just labeled SnowBird series, so people know specifically kind of what I'm talking about. Okay, so thank you. That's just to start the conversation on this series. There'll be more videos to come, and I'll continue to share on different things. But again, if you want to go to my playlist, if you just want to look at specific things on my YouTube channel, Insights or Nomad Life, feel you're more than welcome. But I'll continue to make new videos about all the different areas of my life, not just my nomadic life, but right now and long term. The nomadic life is part of my vision for my journey. All right. So I hope you are doing well. I hope you are taking steps closer to your dreams and goals and to your vision. I know it's not easy, but small steps will get you there, and just start now and refine as you go. Stay inspired.